Well, good evening, everyone. It is Captain Kyle here, and we are at the end game. And I want to welcome our guests, Jon Dowling and our wonderful Kelly. And tonight's going to be a little bit different. So, we were going to have Lieutenant Colonel Bossy on as well. And you know, if you've been watching this show, that every time we get together with Lieutenant Colonel Bossy and myself, we always get major attacks. And he's being attacked severely right now. They have got his internet is being completely attacked. His Starlink is even being attacked right now. He doesn't have the ability to get to his emails or anything. And so we're hoping that he ends up being able to join us. If not, we're going to continue on as we always do. And we'll reschedule and have Lieutenant Colonel Bossy come back on as well as Jon, because what we wanted to do tonight was a little bit different, where Lieutenant Colonel and myself was going to kind of talk, as we always do, what's going on here, what's going on there in Australia, giving people a perspective from that military aspect of what he sees happening, as well as what they're doing there in Australia for their own stability and freedom. And after that period of time, basically, then we're going to turn it over and let Jon and Kelly basically be the hostess and interview and give us questions that they want basically to have answered. Well, Lieutenant Colonel Bossy is not going to be able to be here unless he's able to show up. Hopefully he does. If he does, well, then we'll just bounce right back into that and we'll proceed forward. We've learned to roll with it here, and that's just the way it has to be. And so, with that, we're going to go ahead and pray, as I always do. And I mean, I've even been attacked. I had to shut down all my stuff. I had to basically, I've set up an internet dedicated for this stuff. It's got its own private network. It's petitioned away from all my other stuff. It's got basically its own VPN, and I'm still being attacked. So it's just how it is, folks. So I'm okay with it. So, well, let's get started. First things first, pray, and then we're going to get into allowing them to ask questions. So, dear Heavenly Father, Lord, I just thank you for all you're doing. Lord, you are such a wonderful blessing to all of us. Those things that are seen and unseen that you do for us every single day, even as we sleep. Father, your hand is always moving in our benefit, in our behalf. And Lord, we want to thank you for that. Lord, I want to thank you for all of the men and women that are out there that are courageously working your plan for your goal to accomplish the saving of the world. And Father, we thank you. And Lord, we ask for your hand of protection upon them. Lord, we ask for your hand of protection on our military that are working in the darkest, deepest corners of this world and doing it secretly, wanting they don't want anything for it other than the end goal, which is for the evil to be eradicated. And that is what is happening. And for you to put us on a foundation of love and peace and joy and bring us into that prosperity that you have promised us all. Father, we pray for Donald Trump, our president, and his family, and all that surround him, that your hand is upon him, and that your hand guides and leads everything that they do. Lord, we thank you for it. We thank you for those things that lead us in directions that causes us to use our own discernment to figure out this psychological operation that's going on, to teach us to trust the spirit that you've placed in each and every one of us, and that we listen to you and we don't listen to men. We take advice and guidance from men, but we follow you. And we thank you for that. And we thank you that you begin to speak clear and to continue to lead people in their path in this journey of enlightenment and to become awake to those things in which you've placed in each one of our hearts, and cause us to remember who we are, because that's important. Father, we thank you for it. We praise you for it. And we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All right. So, Kelly, you're basically leading this, and then John, then basically y'all are just going to do y'all's thing, and whatever y'all got, y'all can spill the beans and let's go rolling. So,
Alrighty, so just to introduce John to people that are not familiar with him, is his specialty is the reevaluation and the financial aspect of the transition that we're going through. So we don't often get a chance to talk about that, but it is an important part of the transition that I think a lot of people are waiting on to try to get some relief from the pressure, most of us are under. So,
and let
John,
me clarify that. Sorry, I didn't mean
yeah,
to interrupt you there, Kelly. Um, we talked about this for a long time, even from the very beginning. I mean, I pulled QFS stuff up before it was ever even available to the public, and I
yes,
started presenting it. But with all of the scammers that are out there and with all of the people, we kind of backed away from the financial aspect of it and took our focus. Not that that wasn't important, but we were trying to shield people because we've got a lot of followers, get a lot of views throughout our networks. Um, just on Telegram alone, we do about 2 million views a day just each, and that we've got the statistics for it, and that's not counting Rumble and everywhere else. With X and so on and so forth. And so, because of that viewership and all of the new people, we didn't want them to be taken advantage of. All the times we've told people that we're never going to DM, we're never going to do this. We've even had them actually make AI videos of me from a damn truck talk saying stuff that I was not saying about being able to
really
invest.
bad.
And it was like the same thing that they have done to President Donald Trump and the where they were making those stupid videos, posting them out there, telling people to invest in those damn where you those
TR something or
yeah,
another, fake
Trump
Trump
cards
thing.
and Trump
Yeah.
bucks and all this other stuff, and they were being ripped off. And it was like, it's dangerous. And the deal, so we pulled away from that just for clarification. But it is important. And we want you guys to understand that nobody's going to contact you ever about your finances, your money, or anything. We're never going to speak to you privately about that. I was just talking to Kelly yesterday. I get hundreds of DMs every single day. And if you're not in my personal contacts, I will not answer them on purpose because I do not need to ever be privately contacting and speaking to people not in a public space that I can be held accountable. Period. And I will not. And so if anyone ever is, it's not who you think it is, and you need to be guarded of that. You cannot access the QFS right now. We have actually spoken, Kelly, you can confirm this,
Yes.
to actual
Somebody
Space
at the
Force
Space Force, I did.
about the quantum financial system, who has access to it, and no one in the public arena, no bankers, no finance people, no one has access to the quantum systems. So there is no way in the world you could be persuaded to sign up for something you already have, period. So, with that understood, please, with everything that we're talking about tonight, do not get misled and have someone that actually poses as any one of us and tries to speak to you about your money, period. Because we're never going to do it privately.
And,
Not going
and
to happen.
and folks, they're very convincing and patient. I just had a fella that I talk to quite often contact me, and he said, "Kelly, have we just been talking the last 3 weeks? Because I don't see it here on our stream." I said, "No, that wasn't me." And so he's talking to someone else, and this person is so convincing, even though he knows me. He thought it was me. They use our pictures, they use our name, They're very, very convincing. And then once they build that trust, then they start breaking into the financial talk. And it's
A little bit at
happened.
a time.
Yeah, it's happened where some of our members have lost a lot of money. So that's why Captain Kyle and I both had made this decision to kind of back off talking about it. However, it is an important part of this transition, and it definitely needs to be discussed, which is um, what we're going to do tonight. So let's get
Yes.
to it. So, the one of the things that are coming up fairly quickly, Captain and John, is the deadline for the ISO 20022, which is in November, correct?
Yes.
That's
So
right.
November 22nd,
Yeah,
21st.
next Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay, and so for those listening that do not know what this is, I'm going to give you a quick summary. It's the cutoff date for the SWIFT to full, which is SWIFT is the system I'm sure you all know, which transfers funds. Okay, which was always very slow and very expensive. It's like when you closed on a property, you didn't get your money till days later. Okay, so it's the cutoff date for SWIFT to fully mandate the new standard for cross border payments and reporting. By this date, all financial institutions using SWIFT services must complete their migration from the old MT standard to the new ISO 20022 format. Other related milestones have already passed, such as the July 14th deadline for the FedWire fund services in the US. So, my question is uh, John, you spoke about an April date with SG, and I wasn't familiar with that. Did you hear that in the recording I sent you, Captain, when they were talking about an April date? What is that, and how does it pertain to the financial system?
Do you want me to answer that, or do you want Captain Kyle to start with that?
No, go ahead. I mean, I understand. I know it's the deadline and stuff that's there,
Yeah.
but go ahead. I feel,
Well,
yeah.
yeah. Thank you. First of all, Kelly, thank you for having me on the podcast, and also thank you for your patriotism and professionalism in arranging Captain Kyle and I to even connect, because you made that possible as the gateway. So all the podcasts that I've done with Captain Kyle in the past and will do again are a direct result of your efforts. So first and foremost, thank you for that. Now, in regards to your question, what I was talking to SG about specifically, Kelly, was in a couple of months prior podcast, I asked him, because we, as you know, on our channel, just like you, Captain, we don't do dates and rates. We're not into that hopium guru stuff. That's not our way. So anyway, he was saying that he felt that October was, quote, ambitious time frame to see the public go for exchange. So I'd been following up with him systematically along the way as to when he might surmise the public could go, to try to give our respective audiences sort of a gleaning, if you will, as to when they could anticipate to go in. What he was talking about with April, and you sort of alluded to it a minute ago, Captain Kyle, is that the real calendar date of the new year is April. You've mentioned that before, Captain Kyle. It's not January. On the old calendar, on the Cabal system that we're moving away from, most of the world associates January 1st with the new year, but in actuality, it's April. His contention and point was that April 1st is the end game, and even Captain Kyle has brought that up with respect to changing the timelines, coming out of the crash, basically where the entire world would see the manifestation of everything we already know. But that does not denote that the public is waiting till April to exchange. That's more of just where the world will recognize what we've already undergone. So I think that's more specifically to your question, what we're discussing.
Yeah, because there's a lot of stuff that needs to happen between now and then. The bankruptcy openly of the fiat system, which is being implemented right now, the crash of the stock market, and basically the backstopping of the stable coins, along with the asset backed financial blockchain being implemented to facilitate us moving forward, which is a part of the Genius Act, which is a part of a lot of the stuff that's going on, a lot of what Trump just announced the other day. I think it was Wednesday, where it made it a policy for the financial institutions to offer and to facilitate these cryptocurrencies, legitimate cryptocurrencies, as financial tools, so to speak, and to offer them just as they would anything else. And this is just another part of it. And so we're actually entering into a time of very financial instability on purpose globally, because everything hinges on the US dollar and the US market. Why? Because most of these other stock markets and other economies are actually heavily invested in our market for their economies, not just because of the dollar, but because of our actual stock market itself and how they're actually tied into it. Well, we also have a time in which Jamie Dimon, which is another one of those individuals that's 100% a cabal person that's now being completely controlled by the Trump administration, as like all these other people, Zuckerberg and all these guys, they're all being controlled. It's not as you think it is. So when they're coming out there scripted and doing the things that need to be done specifically for the military's goal and bringing this into fruition, plain and simple. And he's talking about the bond market and how the bond market is very unstable right now and about to potentially crash. When is this crash coming? Well, I would say that this crash is coming somewhere within the next 3 months. Don't know exactly when. It could be tomorrow. It could be, well, not tomorrow necessarily, because the stock market's not open. But that's a lot of times when it does actually futures happen over a weekend when there's no ability to actually get access to your trading abilities. And then by the time it does actually open, it's lost all of its value. And so a lot of times that's how it begins. So could it actually happen tomorrow? It could actually, or Sunday. It could, but I don't believe it's going to happen this quick. But I myself have warned people to, if you're personally invested in the stock market, you are personally risking money that you should know that that's what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Money that's tied to your 401k and things that your financial advisors are actually having the control over, or you don't necessarily have access to it because it is a 401k or it's a retirement account in that aspect. Trump has always said that money's safe, no matter what happens to what it appears, because those people are the ones that manipulated that market, crashed that system, and they're going to be the ones that are going to take the hit. You're not. It may appear that you've lost it, but that means that the quantum system, which we've said for years now, has been mirroring everything, every nickel, every dime that's ever been spent out there, everywhere it's gone, and that those monies are protected. Now, if you have your own brokerage account, which I do as well, and actually make your own investments, then you're basically risking it, that if you lose it, you lose that money. And I've said this many times, because that money is not guaranteed, because you're actually taking that risk knowing that it's a risk and you could lose it all. That's the difference. So this past week, I actually sold and liquidated every stock that I have in my brokerage account. I could show it to you, but I'm not going to. But I could actually open it up, show you that I have liquidated my entire portfolio on purpose.
So, Captain, speaking of Wall Street, I wanted to And John, I'm sorry, I will definitely be quick about this because I know
No,
you
you're
would like
fine.
to speak.
No, you're good.
You just reminded me of something that I recently read. So this was a really, good informative thing about what we're trying to piece together here. So it starts by talking about AI and why it's so important, these data centers. People are very afraid of it, wondering why are they all being built, but it's increasing the electricity supply in order to put everything, all the data on the blockchain technology. We're moving from a centralized financial system controlled by central banks to a decentralized system that's transparent. And that's very important for people to learn the difference between what a centralized system is versus a decentralized system, because centralized is controlled, decentralized is transparent, and it protects the sovereignty and prevents corruption. That's why Trump is pushing the stablecoin so hard, and Congress has already passed the legislation to implement the new blockchain system. But what most people have missed is that New York has passed laws to force Wall Street banks to implement blockchain technology and prepare for the stablecoins. They are already implementing this plan as the center of the world's financial system. The entire world will be forced to also implement blockchain in order to do business with Wall Street. We see governments, central banks, and commercial banks in a mad rush to implement stablecoins and blockchain technology. And the banks are in a panic because they will no longer have the monopoly over the currency, because decentralized finance companies are already competing with them using stable coins. And Trump is also forcing the world back to the gold standard, which we've talked about for a long time, also, Captain.
So
So,
that
yeah,
was really well said, and it was a very good explanation. But let's take that 2 or 3 steps further. Okay. All right. So the AI systems that are being implemented, they're talking about Stargate, right? That's supposed to be one
yes,
of the biggest AI data centers. Well, the the Stargate that is being presented to the public is not the actual Stargate. Um, the Stargate that is the one that's actually 2 or 3 steps in advance of the Stargate that's being presented to the public is actually a part of the Golden Dome network. It's tied into Cheyenne Mountain. It's tied into Tennessee. It's tied into Huntsville. It's very significant. This is a part of what Musk is working on underground, as well as what Musk is working in the SpaceX program. This has to do with um, plasma energy. All right. And plasma energy and infinite energy, in that aspect, is the step that we're going to, but it's not being presented to the public and probably won't be for a couple of years. This other will be I've always told people that the QFS was not the end system. That was the beginning stages of the end system. Basically, the quantum financial system in its infancy was designed to be a sting operation for taking down all of the corruption out of the financial institutions all around the world. How many banks, how many bankers have been taken down for fraudulent actions that we never saw ever happen, ever, over the last 5 years, right? And it's also exposing the individuals like J.P. Morgan, the ties with J.P. Morgan with Epstein, how Epstein's tied into basically all of the financial institutions around the world. They were not just trafficking, men and women and children, but they were also trafficking weapons. And this was a big big, big thing all around the world. And so when they talk about the Epstein files are they're gonna come into existence, they're gonna back off. They're gonna come into existence, they're gonna back off. This is all intentional. A lot of people have become divided on the Epstein saga, so to speak, because they want just all this to be out. Well, it's so much bigger than people have any kind of foreshadow. They got no knowledge of how really massive this is. It ties into every major player in the entirety of the world. This will be the biggest scandal out of any scandal in our history. This is how big it really is. And so it's being introduced and piecemealed out there intentionally, piece by piece, but it's also controlling those entities around the world that are being forced to do those things that they must, whether they want to or not, period. It's being held over their heads. Like it or not, this is the way that it's being played. The military is completely in control over it. Trump does not have the control on releasing it. Congress don't. We are in continuity of government, and the military is actually controlling it. And it's like just like what just happened. They released this information. They tried to play it out, and even CNN had to backpedal, going, "Whoa, wait a minute! They really didn't have nothing to do with this. This was misled, misguided," because they knew it was going to take them down by jumping on board with all of the crazy train people on the left. So the tying into the quantum system and to the AI networks. Well, what you're doing is you're tying that into the benevolent AI system that is actually operating already, that the Trump administration, the military has been operating with for several years now. The deep state tried to get access to it, tried to actually take control over it. And the parts of it that they actually did get, they were never able to actually access it because the frequency in which it had to be operated in, they did not have the frequency match to be able to operate it, period, because that's how it consciously actually communicates and operates. And so this whole thing and where we're being led down is a system of complete, utter separation from any kind of control apparatus. And the Golden Dome system that's actually being implemented, that what people are trying to think about what it may be, it's not just for the United States. It's for the entirety of our world. It's actually this plasma technology that is being used underground, and it's also being used in space. What we're going to hear, you know how the military, they always give you a cover story? Well, this cover story that they're going to give you that's coming from the space technology of Elon is that some of Elon's satellites that are going to go up are going to be or have the ability to have weather manipulation on being able to manipulate the sun and the sun's energy. Okay. This is only a cover story. They already have the ability to completely control the weather. We've already known that forever, right? This is not what it's about. It's actually about taking that plasma energy and putting an envelope around our reality completely and raising the energy and the frequency so that it dominates the entirety of our world. When we go back and we look at history and we look at places where specific ley lines were, this is activating the ley lines, it's activating the energies within the earth, it's activating the crystals within our earth. It's actually taking and bringing the resonant frequency of the earth to a higher level, but also our entire atmosphere as well. So when we've talked about in the past that the chemtrails that people still see going on. No, 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 no. These chemtrails are not what people think. These are the chemtrails that's preparing the way for them to actually bring us into the golden age and complete healing of our planet, the complete restoration of our planet. And so this is all being helped by our brothers and sisters that are well advanced, higher than we are, and they're working side by side with all of us. And so this is all a part of a plan that is so beautiful and so much greater than we only have just we're looking at such infant parts of it, and we're putting so much focus on this. But I think that didn't uh what's the guy's name from Russia that is a part of
Oh
the
yes.
Sovereign of Russia, and he's the number two dude in Russia.
Oh yeah. He's part of the
Dmitria, something
special
like that.
envoy. I just forget his name. He's got a
Yeah, it's whatever. He just made a statement about Trump and Trump's alliances and who he's working with. He's been releasing all this Q like information, right?
yeah.
And basically, at the very end of it, he tells people that this is going to end very, very well. And I mean, do you not hear what's being told to you? You can't look at what's happening right now and judge where we're headed. You have to look at what we're trying to prepare you for the greatness that is to come, and not to look so much on your day to day. Try to begin to focus on those desires that you're looking for down the road, and to put your energy in that, not to worry about the thing. I can tell you right now, and I've seen it, any and everything that you have lost, when we get to the other side of all of this and in its full fruition, there will be no way that you will be able to honestly say that it was not completely worth it, because you're going to have a completely different perspective and understanding that you do not have now. And what do I mean by that? Is that when your perspective is looking at it through your mind's eye right now, trying to make sense of this, but whenever you begin to have a consciousness that's been completely opened up to a much higher understanding and the ability of communication with not only each other telepathically, but also our higher selves and those individuals that we are very closely connected to, family, friends, other individuals. A lot of those are going to reincarnate into our future reality. So there will be no way that you won't understand what you do not understand now. So try not to put so much focus on the difficulties right now, because I know it's difficult. We all go through struggles, and it's hard not to look at that, but it all has purpose. God is in control of everything. And it's like, how could God allow this to happen? How could God just, let this happen? Well, God is letting it happen because God is using it for a complete reason and purpose that you can't perceive yet in this mindset that you live in right now. But in the bigger picture, when you finally get there, you're going to go, oh, now it all makes sense. Now I understand. Now it's like we always say, hindsight's 2020. You're not going to have 2020. You're going to have like freaking 20-0. You're going to be able to spot it like no business. I mean, it's beyond your understanding right now. And that's why I focus so much on trying to help you begin to develop your spiritual connection, on getting out of the noise and disconnecting, and to allow your spirit to begin to communicate, because it doesn't scream at you. And all the noise is intentionally there to keep you from hearing it. And so I just want to encourage you that it's so much bigger, so much greater, and that I've seen so much parts of it that I know I've taken a long time out of this, but it's really important for people to know this, that they have technologies that you do not have to be afraid of. They are tools. They are not to take us over. The black hats have always intentionally, every movie coming out of Hollywood was intentionally made for you to be fearful of technology, fearful of AI, fearful of the robots, iRobot, and the Skynet and the takeover and destruction of everybody, and they're going to kill us all, and that all uh, uh, Independence Day, and they're going to take
Yeah.
us over and they're going to kill us
All
all.
mind conditioning to
It
make
was
you be
all
afraid of it.
preparing for them to completely dominate and control you, because they had technology to project all of this. That's the thing. But it's all been taken. It's all been now diverted into positive. And there are going to be things that are coming that are going to be difficult in this transition of the birthing pains of the planet transitioning to this higher frequency. There's going to be some serious earthquakes. There's going to be some rumblings. It's going to be those birthing pains. And it's the earth actually having them. And so be prepared. It's not the deep state trying to destroy us all, it's the earth actually birthing our new reality. And God is in control over it. There's going to be devastation, but don't look to the devastation, because we're going to rebuild it beautifully and without all of this um, garbage that we have now.
Yeah, everybody is looking forward to the new world, but we have to remember the old one has to crumble.
Right.
We cannot move into the new one until the old one crumbles, and you're watching it crumble. So, it's just part of, it's like, it's just part of the process that we have to get through to get to that new place where we want to go. John,
So this is where we're at with the financials, right? Trump is introducing this $2,000 payment that's coming, so on and so forth. That's kind of the start, just like the tax reductions and all this is the start of Nassar. It's piece by piece introduction. Well, this $2,000 is going to come as payments. Yeah, it's got a $100,000 cap. That's just the start. Don't worry about it. I mean, I don't fall in that category, so I don't care about. I didn't fall in any of the categories on the tax breaks, other
well,
than like the
Captain,
write.
if you don't mind, we'll talk more about these dividends because I wanted to bring up something else like that pertained to the insurance. But let's let John give a chance to talk about or ask you the questions that he's prepared. So he
Yeah,
gives them.
absolutely.
Okay, go ahead, John.
Thanks, Kelly. Appreciate it. Thank you, Captain Cowell, for that. So I want to piggyback first, Captain, before we go to the questions. I want to redress something you said regarding the crash and some other thoughts I have, if that's okay. So,
Absolutely.
firstly, Kelly, I just sent this to you if you want to share it with your audience at a later date. I just had a podcast on this week on our channel with a good friend of mine I've known a long time, and he goes anonymously by the handle of Mr. B. And the reason for that is he still works for Charles Schwab, your clearinghouse, ironically. And so he's pretty high up on the totem pole. He does statistical analysis charts, looks at the treasury yields, 10, 30, 50-year long bonds, S&P, the market, all these different things. And we're getting in precious metals, which I'll touch on in a moment. And his basic thesis synopsis is that we are coming now to the height of the melt up, and the bust will be sometime around the late February, March timeframe, which jives well, corroborating with what you shared.
Yep.
And that is to take us out of the old system into the new one. And that also includes the real estate crash, which I'm excited about, and I'll tell you why. Because, as you know, what I've educated my audience on is God's people are not only going to get the wealth, but the purchasing power. So it's the ultimate P&L balance sheet. And the easiest way for people to think of that is what you make at your job and what your overhead is. You're going to have a lot more coming in, the wealth, and your overhead with free energies and not having to pay mortgages, debtor's prison is going to be next to nothing. You'll actually own your own land. There won't be property taxes. Like you said, a lot of the red states. Interestingly enough, since 1801, Tennessee and Texas, we talked about this, Captain Kyle, a while ago, for your audience, posterity now, is tied to the gold and silver standard of doing business as a measurable instrument since 1801. One of the things we talk about as a second point, as a lead-in, is I have been making the contention on my audience for a while that precious metals, God's money, is the ultimate backbone of everything, of cryptos, of currencies, of metals, bonds, you name it. It's the underlayment. And silver, as you know, is really the key thing because it's been massively suppressed. The world is awash with gold. You know that. There's, the Grand Canyon has, plaster gold. Presidents try to get in. They can't, all this. But silver, the LBMA, the London Metals Bank Association, has already come out publicly and said, hey, we're out of silver. We can't take delivery because the people naked shorting and controlling suppression of it. Now we're calling in the paper shorts because they know, hey, this paper, I could just use this as toilet paper because that's all really ostensibly all it's worth. I need to get these metals. So it's just a matter of time before gold and silver go 1-to-1. President Trump, as you know, Captain Kyle, is about to revalue the gold somewhere 25,000. We think silver will move upwards. So you even notice with the comps of his hair, it's gold one day, silver the next, or both. He's really telling us in plain sight what's going on. So my question to you with that in mind, Captain Kyle, would be, and again, not about dates and rates, but in what you can see, and we've talked about this on our show before, so you're familiar with this, with ISO coming in the rear next week and all the implications that has, what significance do you think that ties into the prophetic, since you're a Christian like me, hypnotic November? Christmas, I shall make them happy. Is that a reasonable assertion, a time frame that people could anticipate seeing some changeover?
It is, but we have to think about when is actually Christmas. And that's a very significant part of the illusion, right? That was a holiday that was implemented to pacify the pagans. It really was, whether people realize it or not, right? And so,
right,
when is actually Christmas, and how are we to really celebrate Christmas and when, right? The calendar is so unique because are we using the Julian calendar? Are we using the Gregorian calendar? Are we going to the new calendar and the 13-month calendar that we should be on every 28 days plus one for the celebration of our Lord and God? So this is something that I think will be a part of disclosure. It's hard to predict that because those are such unknowns, right? And how is that going to be presented to us? Are we going to stay in this illusion, or are we going to break away from the illusion and have something be presented to us that is going to replace that illusion, right? And I think that's more of the replacement of the illusion and bringing us into a true reality. And not only that, but also the beginnings of a blessing season, which is very important. When does that start? This is it's so hard to put it in a time period. Is it the winter? Is it the spring? Is it going to be closer to the April time period on when true blessing begins? And when I mean true blessing, I mean that blessing after blessing after blessing after blessing begins. That's what true blessings are. It's not a blessing and it's over. Boo hoo! It's good you go. So I don't really know and really can be able to say because I I want to hope. This is just my opinion. I don't have an actual spiritual um, intake on this at all on purpose. I think, um, but I think that we're kind of being spared some of the holiday portions of this because it has been so difficult, um, and that I'm in my hope. I'll just put it that way. That in my hope, I hope that it it keeps us within that illusion, and it is the start of the blessing season before we go into the reality of what is and what is not reality. So that's the best I can give in that aspect, so to speak.
Sure, no problem. Thank you for that. The other question I want to ask Captain Kyle is there's you mentioned it too, and I think it's good to cover and not just gloss over it, which is the aspect of stablecoins. Kelly mentioned it earlier. We have always believed in our camp that there'll probably be somewhere between 7 and 10 coins that hold up during the transition. Oh, I think XRP would be one of them, XLM, XDC, because they're tied to gold, silver, copper, right, in the blockchain of what I call the cryptos. Do you have an opinion or thought about what other stable coins might be in that camp that make it?
I don't, and the reason that I don't is because I try to stay out of as much as possible that um, how would I say this? The manipulation of that reality, right? Those that are the top ones, we know why they're what they are, right? But we don't know those others that are going to be used as um, uh, actual coins of value that are tied to other aspects, not necessarily, specifics of whatever it may be, right? But they have to have some form of utility backed within them, right? Um, it's kind of like it's really hard for me to understand how Bitcoin is a usable commodity because it's not really.
Yeah, I agree.
It has no usability to it. It has a limitation to it. It is not, I think it was more of the test run of what was possible intentionally within the alternative financial realm and operating within the blockchain itself. I think it was a test run for where we're going to now. That initially it was something that was going to be put out there by the deep state, was used by the deep state for illicit transactions and purchases with unaccountability backed behind it. But what did we find out? As soon as the QFS came onto line that we know of, people that actually began to use Bitcoin as a payment method for ransoms and things that were basically something that was supposed to be untraceable. What happened to those individuals? They all got caught, every single one of them. So it wasn't as secret as they thought it was going to be, and it was still out there as a untrackable, untraceable payment source. Well, they found out just the opposite because you cannot hide from the illusion within the quantum system. You just can't. And they got to find that out the
Yeah.
hard way.
Right. One of the things I heard interesting, thank you, Kyle, Captain Kyle, for that, is one of the interesting things I heard from one of my teammates a couple nights ago, just something to kind of be mindful of. Subsequent to the 22nd date, is that the new elites, if you will, are looking at the 28th as a demarcation for Bitcoin to try to make it an acceptable form of payment by taking it. It's going to be part of the crash, if you will, and then Trump might reuse it, pegging it to gold, and make it a form of legitimacy. But ultimately, I agree with you. It was sort of the gateway for, as you said, what's possible. One of the things I'm excited about too is, I don't know if you're familiar with Shiba.
Mhm.
The Shibarium verse, when that we're coming to the end codes, as you know, I think by December 1st, which is part of a, as you said, a bigger arrangement for the unlocking of what I call lasagna blessings, layer upon layer upon layer.
That's right.
I like those analogies because you can visualize them. And so, keeping with what you said, the Shiba verse is going to be able to be the Shibarium 2.0 will compete with Ethereum, which has been largely controlled, right, by the deep state.
Mhm.
That's going to allow that to break free and all the coins associated with that. So that would be one that I would kind of be looking at as well.
Yeah, it's a good payment system that's actually out there. I've you know I've actually used it some. It's very simple and it's a credible market value for what they're moving towards.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I mean, that covers the lion's share for me, Kelly. I'll just turn it back over to you.
Okay, so I wanted to share my screen because when we were talking about dividends, I think that word is going to become very important in the coming future with a lot of things that involve payment, cost, including health insurance. So this is a clip I'm going to play, and I'm going to share my screen. But first, I'm going to read about the clip. It's President Trump talking about the insurance. And it says, do you all see what's happening? Trump Care isn't just policy, it's a dividend model for the American people. This is huge. A dividend is not welfare, it's not socialism, it's not someone else's labor funding your services. A dividend is a benefit paid to the owners of a system, and Trump is positioning the American people as shareholders of the U.S. External Revenue Service via tariffs, sovereign wealth fund. He's shifting power from the bureaucracies to the citizens. And here's the timeline of what he spoke of. On October 2nd, outside the White House, we have so much money coming in. This is Trump speaking from tariffs. We're thinking about a little rebate for people of certain income level. October 3rd, he expands on the idea. There could be a distribution or dividend for middle income and lower income people. November 9th, on Truth Social, a dividend of at least $2,000 per person, not including high income people, will be paid to everyone. November 10th, Oval Office press gaggle. We're going to issue a dividend to our middle income people and lower income people, about $2,000. Later that day, Fox News with Ingram, he criticizes Obamacare, inflated premiums and subsidies, and introduces the core concept of Trump Care. Redirect funds directly to people's accounts. Let individuals buy and negotiate their own plans. Create an entrepreneurial marketplace for healthcare. Competition equals lower prices and better products. He literally says the money should go to the people, not the insurers or the government intermediaries. This is not socialism. This is consumer sovereignty. This is market competition fueled by citizen dividends. And here's the kicker. When you pair this with what RFK Jr. hinted about direct primary care becoming central to the future of healthcare, you can see it outlined in a bigger shift. Less insurance that's a tongue twister for me. Bureaucracy, more doctor patient relationships, transparent prices, and citizens empowered with their own health care. Trump isn't cutting checks, he's restructuring the incentives of the entire system. America is about to become the marketplace, and the citizens are about to become the shareholders. And let's think back to his inauguration speech. He is giving the power back to the people. So here is what he said about the insurance. I'm going to share the screen if I remember how, Captain. Share screen.
Make sure it has sound when you share a screen
Okay.
and the screen that you want.
Also share system audio. Okay.
Yeah.
Share.
I want the money to go into an account for people where the people buy their own health insurance. It's so good. The insurance will be better. It'll cost less. Everybody's going to be happy. They're going to feel like entrepreneurs. They're actually able to go out and negotiate their own health insurance. And they can use it only for that reason. That's the beauty, only for that purpose. And if we did that, that would be so exciting.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I want the money to go into an account for people where the people buy their own health insurance. It's so good. The insurance will be better. It'll cost less. Everybody's going to be happy. They're going to feel like entrepreneurs. They're actually able to go out and negotiate their own health insurance. And they can use it only for that reason. That's the beauty, only for that purpose. And if we did that, that would be so exciting. Call it Trump care. Call it whatever you want to call it. But anything but Obamacare. Obamacare is a disaster, just like he was as a president.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about what you thought, how this is looking with these what they're often referring to as dividends. Because, when people first heard about the $2,000, a lot of them in the chat were angry and saying, well, that's nothing and compared to all they owe us and so on and so forth. But I did post the word key. You think about the keyword dividend because, Captain, we're trying to have people learn for themselves because when they learn it, then it's their perception of what is, right? So when you look up the word dividend and you take in what that meaning is, it's not a refund, it's a dividend. Then you will begin to understand what I believe is going on. What do you all think of that?
Well, that was kind of what I was leading to earlier when I was talking
Yes,
about the two
that's why
thousand
I
dollars.
interrupted you.
And so this is all right. So there's kind of a schedule to this, and I'm not going to completely let the cat out of the bag on the schedule, but it's the introduction of a $2,000 payment. There's going to come after that what I understand as being a $6,000 payment. And then what will happen after this point of people now understanding that this is a part of the ownership of the wealth that's being generated by our country. This is something that they stopped during the early 1900s. This is why Trump always talks about back in when we basically they turned us into a corporation. We had so much money that they did not know what to do with it all. They actually had to start groups to try to figure out how to spend and invest the money we had and in trying to best use it going forward. Well, instantly all of the bankers and all of the corruption got involved in it. We ended up that's where we came into the 1913s with the Federal Reserve coming into play, and then not long after that introduction of the IRS and so on and so forth. Well, that whole part was specifically designed by that top elite percent to take all of those earnings, all of that wealth, and fleece it into a program that robbed from the bottom and put into the very top. Okay, and if you look at it as, and I'm not doing some kind of hand sign for fucking people, so don't even go there. But it's like, so if you look at a pyramid, this is kind of how it was. All of this generated wealth upwards, and they fleeced it. And so basically what this is doing is it's turning it completely around, upside down. And it's actually taking the bottom here, which is the treasury, and the monies that the treasury, the country actually makes through its economy, is filtering that wealth back to the people instead of the people filtering the money to the couple, the few. It's completely turning it upside down. And this is the start of that funneling of the wealth that the country makes through its economy, and starting to bring wealth back towards the people. So if you start with $2,000, we call it a dividend. What? That's ownership. That's being paid as part of the ownership of whatever that is being paid out of, right? We When we get into the true wealth being generated to the people, this is going to come late next year, first part of 27. This is going to be a part of the wealth fund actually fully operating at 100%. And this is going to start the payments where people that have talked about it, like Elon Musk and other, on a universal basic income. This is, do you want to work or not work kind of situation. And I'm not talking a low basic income. We're talking $10,000, $15,000 a month on actually what's going to be generated from the wealth of the country going back to the people. And there's ways of increasing your income from that wealth fund. Is, do you do community service? What are you doing in advancing the people within the humanitarian services and things of that nature? Because those things are going to be recognized as more value to our humanity and our race, and being a larger owner of what will be paid out to you. And so this is all, you can't, I'm going to tell you right now, you don't know how to manage a bunch of money if all of a sudden you got a freaking windfall. All you would do is go out there and blow all the money. It would just be hookers and blow. I mean, that's what a lot of people did with it, right? They got a bunch of money, they didn't know what to do with it. And I'm just using that as a reference. Not most people are not there, but that's just the reference of a lot of people that all of a sudden won the lottery. They divorced their wife, they divorced their husband, and they went out there and they did their. People do a lot of stupid things because they think that all of a sudden money is going to solve their problems. I've had this conversation with many people. Money does not solve your problems. What it does, puts a big old spotlight on them, and it accentuates them and makes them huge. A lot of problems you don't have because you don't have the money to have them, but they're in you. They're there. And if you had the money, they would be a big problem. And so I've always been taught that money comes to you in stages so that you learn to develop wealth and what comes with the responsibility of wealth. And the more that you are educated and understand that wealth and money is nothing more than a tool, and how you use that tool is can bring you peace. It can bring you happiness. It can bring you joy. It can bring so much positive, but it also can destroy your life and everybody around you. Just like that. That's the power of that tool. And that's also the power of some of this technology that's out there too. And we have to be careful how it actually comes into the public space. So this is going to be a measured approach so that you get a little money. It's going to appease those people. You know, a lot of people on the bottom, you give them $2,000 and that'll be a freaking blessing. They're not going to be the one bitching. They may say they would want a whole bunch more, but in a couple of months after that, they get, oh, look, we've got another dividend that needs to be paid out because of whatever, whatever, whatever. And it's not going to be 2,000, but it's going to be $4,000 this month, and so on and so forth. And this is going to be the stepping stones that we're going to transition through next year on developing a high income into your family so that the time in which comes, it's coming next year, on the complete collapse of the fiat system, the restructuring of the financial system completely into the public space, and being set up to where you have that true purchasing power of a dollar and not the fiat percent of inflation. Inflation was a scam, people. All that was the fleecing of the value of money out of your pocket and into theirs. We're going to turn all that around. What the country actually earns as a wealth generator from the public and from the governmental basis of the economy is now going to start to funnel to you. And when they fix the financial manipulation of the currency, and now it's going to be a real dollar, real prices will actually be reset to those values, because the markets are going to reset them 100%. Why do I say that? If I have $100 bill that is worth about $9 to that 100 purchasing power of what its real value is. That's really what it is, about 9%. That's about its value. And so all of a sudden, all of these prices are valued at that 9% dollar. And then all of a sudden, that $100 now goes to a full value price and on its purchasing ability. Would I sit there and then turn around and buy something that was like these vehicles nowadays that's a freaking truck, like the one I got in my driveway and stuff, that people go out and buy brand new, and they spend right now that truck is $120,000 brand new. And it's like, have you lost your freaking mind? It's a Ford 250 four-wheel drive Super Duty, and it's the price of a freaking super luxury car. I ain't paying no freaking $110,000 on now what it's really valued at. Because why? You got the real value dollars now too. We ain't paying that no more. You're going to have to correct your prices or you're going to go bankrupt. And they're going to correct those prices like no time, because nobody's going to be stupid and buy it. So the market will correct itself very quickly. Homes, same way. The home fraud that's been perpetrated on the public is going to be exposed in the spring. And it's going to come around. And when that does, it's going to break the mortgage companies. This whole 50-year mortgage was a setup, people. Whether you realize it or not, it was a setup to expose the corruption within the mortgage industry. Everything is a military operation. It's a setup. It's all going to get exposed. But you know what really is the worst thing of all is you don't own the property that you actually think you own.
Mm-hmm.
because under the corporate construct, you're not allowed to actually own that property. That's why you have to pay property taxes. This is going to be corrected. You will own the property that you actually own. Property taxes are going to go away and things are going to be corrected. All of this is happening behind the scenes, and I want to ensure that you understand this is all for the benefit of everyone, not a specific, not the elites, not the people that are the migrants, whatever. It doesn't matter. It is for all of us,
Mhm.
everyone. And it's like, let it play out. Try to stay out of the day-to-day news cycle, because if you stay in that stuff, you're going to be emotional basket case when this is all over with, because it's intentionally causing chaos on purpose. The financial institutions are going to go up and down, up and down. This is all on purpose. It's to drive the sleepers batshit crazy on purpose. Don't get caught up in it. That's what's going to wake them up. This is what you're supposed to be, the strong, stable lighthouse of strong foundation, so that when they are looking for their home port, you're like, hey, I'm right here. All is well. Come on over. Not, oh my God, I can't believe what's happening. That's what people sound like. You sound like a bunch of cuckoos like everybody else. And it's like every time the wind blows, it's like, oh my God, the world's coming to an end. No, it's not. You have gone through all that you've gone through. And why are you continually getting tossed around from left to right to every time the wind blows? It's like another tragedy's happening. It's not. God has placed you in a position of knowing what's going on, so that you can be the foundation and the calm within the eye of the storm for your circle of influence, because God entrusted you, because he knew you could weather the storm. He knew you could weather this storm, and it was important. So don't get on that cuckoo train, and it's constantly trying to drag you back to it. Am I not true, Kelly? Always, it's trying to drag you back into the matrix.
Yes, all the time. It wants you to keep reliving it over and over and over again so you never escape it.
Right.
Because there's no power for them outside the matrix.
Well, it's like Satan's playbook, Kelly. It's all he has is fear porn, and just goes back to the same playbook until we break that cycle, like Captain Kyle was saying. Captain Kyle, you were talking about the pyramid of things. It's really an inversion, right? And it's
Yes.
the wealth of the wicked being laid up for the righteous. That's what
Yes.
keeps coming back to me. That's what God's doing. A long time ago when I got into this movement 13 years ago, my mentor, Don Ward, who's watching, shout out to you, Don, he taught me about money. He said, the first thing you have to understand about wealth, John, is we serve a God of abundance, not lack. That, Captain Kyle, you've talked about that many times on your show and on my podcast. But one of the seminal things you taught me is that money makes you more of what you already are. It doesn't
Yeah. Oh,
develop
yeah.
your character, it reveals it. That's the thing. Like you said, it shines a
A big
light.
old spotlight shines
Yeah.
right on those things.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I just wanted to chime in on that. So back to you, Kelly.
And it reveals the people that are around you more so than you ever would have thought. And it's
Good
like,
point.
one of the first things that my father-in-law, the prophet pastor, that my wife's dad, he taught me. I can't. The first time I came into a very, very large sum of money. I mean, I had been through a lot of times that, and I wanted to go and bless myself, and I wanted to, man, I went out and drove this freaking, it was $300,000 freaking one of a kind Mercedes, and I was gonna go bless myself. And man, when I go drive something, I own it at that point. And it's like I went and I drove it and the whole thing, and then I went and I talked to my father-in-law, and you know what? He was like, son, he said, you know what's going to happen in a couple of years? That's going to be just a car. And it's like, it's not going to fill anything for you. It's not. He said, The thing that is most important is for you to take and to bless your family, give them what is called mad money so that they can go out and experience just a session of being able to do whatever they want at a limited basis and it be okay. So that they understand that whenever you have a windfall, you use a measure of that and say, go enjoy it. That's what it was for. But then take the rest of it and invest it and put it into something that even in the hard times, you'll be able to still enjoy it. And so what I did is I actually took that money that I was going to do. I gave some to my son. I gave some to my daughter. I gave some to my wife. And that was their mad money. And I was teaching them a lesson about money. And my kids were only, they were, I mean, they're full grown, 40s and 30s and 40s now. And this was when they were in their teens. And it's like, several $1,000s for them to just go, what? I didn't care what, they could burn it. It didn't matter to me. You do whatever you want with it, makes you happy. And then I took and I said, all right, what we're going to do is we're going to take every piece of furniture out of our house and we're going to donate it to people that are in need. And that's what we did because nothing was bad, but we took everything out of the house. I remodeled the inside of the house and I rebought all the new furniture in our house. I redid our backyard into a pool and resort type area. So no matter what times that would have came down the road, I could have come home and been in a comfortable space that would have always been something that brought me peace and comfort versus that car that would have just been a car down the road. And it didn't cost a third of what that car cost me, right? Which was a depreciating asset. And it was like, and then the next thing he said is, he said, son, every person that you know is going to have a need. And it's easier to tell that person that you can't versus that you won't. So put it in some types of investments that makes it hard for you to get to so that you don't have access for those people. You can honestly, with a red-faced test, say, I can't. I would love to help you, but I can't because of this circumstance, whatever it may be. And I tell you what, John, family members and people that you would never thought, they were like, I mean, they wanted to almost disown me for a couple of years. But then that kind of went away and it became okay and everything kind of healed. But I got to see the ugliness that he saw that I thought never would exist, right? And that's when I really realized that, man, it can become so detrimental versus being a blessing if you're not freaking careful. If you don't have someone that can implement some sense of wisdom, it can become a very, very detrimental thing to your life. And I think that that's really what's really important right now is that people are learning what's important, values, people, people that like invest in your life, that care about you unconditionally, no matter what, they're going to be there and bring you into a sense of value and walking you into that ownership of not only the money, but ownership of our country, its values, its people. It's bringing us into a place that you could never know it unless we experienced it. And this is what our experience that we're going through right now. Let God be God. He's working it all out for you. And everything is going to be okay. It's going to be more than okay, but it's hard for you to see it through your lens because of the crap that you may be going through. But God has never left your side, and He cares about you, and He has a plan for you. Don't lose trust and hope in tomorrow, because that's usually when your breakthrough is right there about to come through, is that you give up on it right before it happens. Don't give up. Don't
Awesome.
make me cry.
Oh,
Well said, Captain Kyle. Well
So
said.
truthful. It's
well,
just
thank
the
you,
truth.
Captain. It's very heartfelt.
Yeah.
So, do you want to wrap up with some questions?
Yeah, we can do a few, and then something that both
Yeah.
myself and John can both answer.
Yeah. So it says, this is from Allison. Hey, thank you all so much for your guidance through this amazing time we're living through. John, I love your interviews. You're so organized and precise. Captain, can you clarify further? And you both can speak to this, of course, how the current timeline relates to prophecy timeline, or has that been a form of deception to us?
So it's funny because there's two actual timelines. There's an apocalyptic timeline. There's an ascension timeline bringing us into a golden age, and they are not the same thing. And the overwhelming darkness that was here and the controllers, the archons and so on and so forth, the demigod, um, the demiurge, I mean, is always trying to keep us on that apocalyptic timeline of destruction. And with that, then we are within the um, parts of Revelation that are bringing us into not us, but that part of reality that is going to bring total destruction and annihilation to this world. Now, the separation of that is the timeline of ascension, which Enoch and Elijah both experienced, was being called up to a higher place. They never saw death. Only two people, only two. This is important. And someone that was so important that they didn't, meaning the controllers, didn't think that Enoch's testimony of what his experiences were valid for you to know, but he didn't, was so important to the creator of all things that he didn't see death. I mean, come on, use a little bit of your common sense. They didn't want you to know those things. Why? Because they couldn't control you anymore. They wouldn't have been able to manipulate you all these years. Well, the thing with that is that when we had the discovery of the Nag Hammadi library that confirmed a lot of the documents that were basically intentionally kept away from the people, it was to keep them to being able to have their control and manipulation over you, and for you not to ever remember exactly who you are. And when I prayed in the beginning, I said specifically, it is important for you to remember who you are. Christ spoke of that many times. He was the way shower. He tried to show us who you are and the importance of each and every one of you. And not that you're some worthless, no good for nothing, I need help. No, you don't. You are the son of the creator of all things, and he dwells and lives inside of you. He said that you will do greater works than I. And was he a liar? Do not pick and choose those things that you want to believe. Why do you not believe that he was telling you the truth? Why? Because you're not doing it. You're not living it, because it's easier to be neutered than it is to walk out there on the water. That's my take of it.
Absolutely. Well, Kelly, please thank Allison for me for her kind words. I appreciate that. Allison, please come out and comment on the channels, because we need people like you to be brave and speak. We need more intelligent insight from people like you, not knuckleheads and trolls who waste our time on the comment space. We need the people from behind the scenes that we know are being supportive to come out and be more vocal. So that'd be my only encouragement.
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay, the next question is from Peter Chip 6. Is the original Nasara written long ago still in place as it was written, or has the Nasara document changed?
So, in my opinion, it's been reformulated to exactly what we're going to go through and experience, whether it become Trump Sara or whatever. It doesn't really matter. It's that it's all going to follow a similarity of its original content. Whether it be exact or not, it does not matter. It's the actual principles that were being um, implemented and bringing forth. Would you agree with that, John?
Yeah, I would. I was going to say pretty much I'm in the same lockstep with you, Captain Kyle. I think it's been brought up to amalgamated to modern terms with President Trump and the team, bringing it up to code, sort of, so to speak. And one of the things I get pushback on is that, well, Nasara is not biblical. Actually, it is. It doesn't have to say those words to be. It all harkens back to Leviticus 25:9-12, which is a debt jubilee in the Jewish calendar you were talking about before, Captain Kyle, where we're getting onto the proper calendar, 13 months. And so, back in those times, it was a forgiveness of debts, restoring. You were talking about the land earlier, Captain Kyle, where the land is crying out for a reset, a restoration. So it amalgamates with that principle biblically, that a return of families to their land and their clan, a resetting of debts. So Nasara basically has inflections of Leviticus 25:9-12, which is biblical. And also, it's important to note that central banks, which are going away, but the central banking system usually has about a 50-year life cycle before it goes away. And we're already overdue with the pregnancy of that birth of the new system and the death of the old one.
So, hey, let me ask you a question. Do you know where the word Caucasian comes from?
Yes, I was just studying that. Isn't that a Russian province, I believe, if I'm not mistaken?
It's actually it's an actual people that
Right.
were a part of the tribe of Israel. They were a white descendants that actually came to America, and that's where Caucasian comes from. Is we're actually Israelites,
Interesting.
and that's why Caucasian. And it says it, and there's verses that back it 100%.
Yeah.
And it is one of the tribes of the 12 tribes of Judah that actually was pushed up into the mountains, and they actually left there, went into Europe, and then from Europe they went to the United States, or to the Americas, so to speak, and they were Caucasians. And that's where that word comes from, and that's why it's so important. And that's why, if you look at what the federal documents tried to put that you were white or non-white. That was very key because it always used to say Caucasian or you weren't a Caucasian. Everything else, right? Didn't matter. It was Hispanic, whatever. It was Caucasian. Where did that word disappear from? It just disappeared because they knew that they had to quit using it.
Good point. Thank you for that. Good to know.
Yeah, and you can look this up, people, because it is out there for you to be able to find. But most people have never actually started to investigate these things on where and what words actually truly mean. Go ahead, Kelly.
Okay, there's one here from Rumble that Claudia's put on the board. Thank you, team, for all you do. No one talks about what happened to IMF. Is there a cleanup arrest of the corrupt staff happening there, as well as part of clean slate by President Trump?
Absolutely. I mean, it's been going on. And we're in the the time period of arrests being made publicly and the takedown of organizations and being taken down publicly in its own time and in its own space. Those things will be made known, but it's very important on how information is released and in what order. Always remember that. And so it's been gamed out intentionally on how the public's going to receive this, and are they ready for different parts of different organizations going down. And through AI and through the technology that's there, monitoring absolutely everything, even the Schumann residence is being actually monitored on how people receive information and how they react to it. This is very important because as people receive information and how they respond to it is key to how new information is going to be responded to being released and how much further it's going to go each time. It's like, when you you do something and then it's like, oh well, that was good, they took that good, I can go a little bit further, I can go look, whoa, I need to back that up just a little bit because that was a little bit too far to go that time, but there'll be that. And then okay, now it's ready to go a little bit further, and then you think back and it's like, man, I started way back here and they're all the way to here. Just think where you were in 2018. Just think where you were in 2022. Think where you're at today and what you know and what you're able to comprehend on the level of consciousness. It's been expanded so greatly. That box has been over time. It's been taken apart, pulled down, reconstructed, pulled down again, reconstructed, pulled down again. Because what you do is every time you come to a new place of understanding, you actually build a construct around it on your understanding of the way things are. And then it has to be challenged and torn down again. And then it gets built up again and it gets torn down again. But every time it gets full of so much more wisdom and understanding. But just think where you all started. I'm so proud of every one of you because of all that you've been through. I was just telling Kelly this the other day. I don't tell people how proud I am of people because it just becomes meaningless when you tell people over and over again. It doesn't mean anything. But just think of all that you've been through and what you've been able to endure. I remember back in the day when people are like, I can't take it another month. I can't take it another. You've been another 4 or 5 years and you're still here and you're still doing everything that you need to. And the deal is that it's almost over. That's the good part. The light is at the end of the tunnel.
Yes, exactly.
Then we
Absolutely.
didn't have it. It was
And
all guesstimation of what was happening when, and we were living through the Biden chaos, which was all on purpose, so people could be exposed to that level of corruption in everything. We had to become the laughing stock of the world, and we were.
Yeah, absolutely. And just Kelly, to add my little short contribution, as you know, Captain Kyle, in 2019, in February 2019, President Trump appointed David, the name escapes me, to the World Bank. So that was one of the first optical implementations we saw that he did, because the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, falls under the auspices of the World Bank. They're sort of the head of everything, and it's BIS, Bank of International Settlements, all fall in that sort of Rolodex or file folder, if you will, of the leadership brigade of the deep state. So yes, they have been summarily, to Captain Kyle's point, cleaned out, been going through a clean out process for a number of years. It's almost like they're basically an entity at this point without any real power or sustainability.
yeah, like
And
NATO.
that's what we're in the part of tearing down and exposing like the IMF and the WHO and all of these organizations that have been institutionally put in place as control mechanisms for the entirety of the world. Now that people are not buying into it, they're being exposed, that corruption is being exposed, and they've already been dealt with. Okay, that's not the issue. The issue is bringing that exposure into the public realm, that people don't lose their crap, that oh my god, the world's coming to an end. Because people always, when stuff like that happens, it's like, oh my god, the Bible's true, it's apocalypse, we're gonna all die tomorrow. And that's whoa, back off. That's your vision. Then you're going down the apocalyptic timeline. I ain't on that one, so don't even share that here, okay?
Yeah. So we've been going an hour and 40 minutes, and we've had a wonderful conversation. I'm glad we decided to go forth with our chat tonight. But we will, in 2 weeks' time, when Lieutenant Colonel Bossy comes back, we'll have John back again, and we'll go on with our plans that we were supposed to do tonight.
So because things just kind of got flipped on their head, we just kind of spitballed this and just put it together so that we could kind of do something for you guys that we weren't expecting, instead of just saying no, we're not going to do it because this is not what we planned. So always remember, everything that we do has you in mind, and that it's got a purpose for helping you guys understand as much as you're able within the time frame that we have to be able to navigate this chaos of world and these turbulent waters. But always know that peace comes in the morning, and that morning's coming. But we have to go through the dark night. The dark night's coming too. But in that, don't allow fear to come in. Don't allow the enemy to rob you of your joy, because God is 100% in control. And even Q told us, when the lights go out, even in the darkness, not necessarily your light, but when the lights go out and the communication stops, we are in control. Don't allow that fear to come in. Be that lighthouse, be that calm in the storm, so that you will be able to have that nurturing effect that God has put in you specifically for those people around you of your circle influence. That's so important. You're important. Don't ever forget that. And don't ever minimize it either. Ever. So, with that, John, I appreciate you very much. It's been a blessing. Kelly, great job. Thank you very much, sweetheart. And we will talk to you guys very soon again.
Yeah, thank you all. Thank you, John, for joining us. Thank you,
God bless
Captain.
everybody.
Love you all. Good night.